Hello, everyone. I'm not sure how to come in on that. I practiced a few times. Hopefully that wasn't too creepy. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Kilowatt. My name is Bodie, and I am your host. So sorry. That's the best I got. Oh, hey, on this week's episode of Kilowatt, we're going to talk about Harley Livewire electric motorcycles, Bugatti, energy neutral communities, and then I've got some Tesla news sprinkled in here and there. So let's jump right into the news, shall we? It's been a while since we've talked about electric motorcycles, so we're going to start the show off with some EV cycle news. Harley Davidson came out with the Livewire electric motorcycle. Apple TV liked it so much that it produced a Livewire infomercial called The Long Way Up, or A Long Way Up, I should say. But Harley is spinning off the Livewire motorcycle into its own brand. The new Livewire electric motorcycle company, which I'm assuming is what it's going to be called, will begin selling their new Livewire 1, which is basically the same motorcycle as the original Harley Livewire, but it'll have some updates to hardware and software, although Harley did not go into what those updates would be. So it's a safe assumption that it's pretty much the same motorcycle with just, parts that work better. The original Livewire, which you can still buy on Harley's website, cost $29,799. But if you want the Livewire 1, that begins at $21,999, so almost an $8,000 difference. It comes in a wide range of colors from white or black, 146-mile range, which for some reason you only get 70 miles on the highway, but 146 in the city. I'm guessing that's because of regenerative braking. But anyway, pretty cool. I'm really excited to see another player out there, and I think that it makes more sense for Harley to sell this bike as its own brand, because quite honestly, it doesn't look like a Harley. It just looks like a really cool cafe bike, but that's about it. So I'd like to see Harley convert some of their more iconic styles over to EVs, and hopefully they'll be doing that soon. But this is really good news for EV motorcycle owners, which I talked to my wife earlier today about becoming one, and she said no. My wife doesn't like motorcycles. So if I want to continue to be married to her, I am not going to own an EV motorcycle or a internal combustion motorcycle because she doesn't like them. The 2022 Polestar 2 will be a little bit more affordable. Well, kinda. Polestar will be selling a single motor version of the Polestar 2, and that should lower the base price of the vehicle below $60,000, which is where the starting point is now. Polestar also announced the Polestar 3 SUV, which will eventually be sold in the United States. Initially, Polestar will start producing the Polestars 3 in China and then ship them to North America, but eventually the cars are going to be manufactured here in North Carolina. Excuse me, I meant to say here in North America, not North Carolina. Sorry about that. We do know that the Polestar 2 will be produced in South Carolina, however, so I got some things mixed up there in my brain as I'm reading this. Sorry about that. VW will launch over-the-air updates for their ID EVs, which is the ID3 and the ID4 at this point. Only time will tell how well this is going to work. Right now, Tesla, I believe, is the only other manufacturer that does over-the-air updates. If there's others, let me know. I can't think any off the top of my head. But anyway, this rollout will go to the First Movers Club, which are the VW owners, the ID3 and the ID4 owners who bought early, and that'll begin in July 2021. I'm thrilled to see that legacy car makers are catching up with technology that's been in our phones and computers for years now. I'm really looking forward to other companies doing this as well. And that's not even, it's a little bit of sarcasm on my part, but genuinely, I am excited to see other car manufacturers do this because, again, taking your car in to have a little software update that takes about 10 minutes for them to update is a hassle. And there's no good reason for it other than the fact that they didn't plan ahead. Next up, ChinaTesla will purchase 55% of Bugatti from VW Group. Now, if you don't know who ChinaTesla is, they build these beautiful EV supercars. I mean, they are just gorgeous. Go and look them up. They don't build very many of them because they're over $1 million. Which is why it kind of makes sense that they're buying a stake in Bugatti. Now, VW Group, including the Porsche division, who owns the majority stake in Bugatti, will create a new joint venture called Bugatti ChinaTesla. Now, it sounds like the Bugattis will continue to be built in France, and the engines, according to the article, will be developed in Croatia. Now, Rimac is based out of Croatia. They don't build engines, but they do build a powertrain for a very, very fast electric vehicle. So it makes sense that Rimac would partner with Bugatti on an EV version of the vehicle. And I would assume that Rimac is going to be providing the platform, and then Porsche will build off of that, or Bugatti will build off of that. But who knows? And there wasn't any additional information on what Rimac and Bugatti are planning. So anything that I say, or anything I've said to this point, really is just speculation, because they haven't yet made that information public. All right, speaking of VW Group, Volkswagen wants to sell a stake in Electrify America. They're looking for a co-investor to invest $1 billion. This will help ease the burden of building out the charging infrastructure on their own. Now, I feel like VW Group could easily absorb the cost of the charging network, no problem. But it does make sense to have a strategic partner to work with on actually getting the charging stations built. There's a lot that goes in to getting these charging stations built behind the scenes that I'm sure is a red tape nightmare. So over time, Electrify America is also looking to partner with potential investors like infrastructure groups and utilities and auto manufacturers and so on and so forth. Now, last week or this week, depending on when you're listening to this, Stlantis showed off what they've been working on at their Stlantis EV Day 2021. Now, I've never heard of this company, and I'm still currently working through the nearly 3-hour video that they put out. And hopefully, if anything cool comes out of that video, I will update you in next week's episode. But right now, the two biggest takeaways from that event is that Dodge is planning on building a Dodge Ram 1500. According to the article, the base model will have a 159 kilowatt hour battery pack. And then the biggest model will have over a 200 kilowatt hour battery pack. Now, this is very impressive, and the range is also very impressive, up to 500 miles, all built off the Stlantis STLA frame. So there's like 5 different platforms that Stlantis built, and it's small, medium, large frame, extra large, or whatever it is. They have very simple naming conventions. Don't pay too much attention to the range or the battery packs, because honestly, that all that stuff can change by the time. It makes for a great press release, is what I'm saying. They also announced that they're going to build a Dodge EV muscle car, and it looks like, kind of like in the picture, that it might be based off a 1969 Dodge Charger, which is the General Lee if you're a Dukes of Hazzard fan. But we don't really know, because the picture that they showed is, like every EV picture, it's all blacked out, and it's kind of got some neon lines that kind of show the outline of it, but not really. I don't know about you folks, but I love the look of the 1969 Dodge Charger. A friend of mine had one when we were in high school, and unfortunately, it got in a wreck and they had to total it, but it was a beautiful car. And without giving too many details away, a lot of questionable decisions were made in that vehicle, and, take that for what you will. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go into detail. I'll get myself in trouble. But anyway, very, very cool. I would actually like to see Chrysler bring back the Plymouth Roadrunner, which I'm a big fan of. Not the 69 Roadrunner, because I'm not a fan of the looks of the later car. Although something like that could be cool, potentially. So let me just put this out here. If you were young once and you made a lot of bad decisions in a vehicle, and you have very fond memories of those bad decisions that you made, and you would like them to bring that vehicle back as an EV, what would it be? Let me know. Bodie, BODIE at 918digital.com. You do not have to tell me what you did in the vehicle. As a matter of fact, please don't. Because, I guess what I'm asking is, what vehicle from your youth would you like somebody to bring back in EV form? Let's just leave it at that. Moving on. NIO is bringing their charging and battery swap stations to Norway. Now, when NIO announced that they'd be selling their vehicles in Norway, I assumed that they would be building their charging infrastructure out so you could actually charge your vehicle. I did not expect them to bring the battery swap stations, so that's pretty cool. In other NIO news, they're also opening up their battery swap stations to other EV manufacturers. And if you don't know how these battery swap stations work, you drive your vehicle into this little box, it takes your old battery off and puts it away and charges it and puts a new fresh charged battery on, and then you drive out the box and you're ready to go. The whole thing happens very quickly. It's a great alternative to actually having to sit and wait for your battery to get charged. Tesla's tried this and they failed, and it seems like NIO has actually made this work for them and their cars. So I'd like to see other people use this technology, because I would like this for myself here in the States. And our final NIO story here, it's rumored that the next country that NIO will be expanding to is Germany. And this is based off of a job description of a general manager of NIO Germany. So really good chance that NIO is coming to Germany. Maybe it's not the next one, but honestly, it looks like the next one. All right, let's jump into our Tesla news this week. I'm sure everyone is aware that one of the original Model S Plaid vehicles caught fire. It's all over the internet. And I'm not going to go into great detail about this subject, because until the investigation's complete, I'd just be speculating. And I haven't seen any video on it. And I've read lots of accounts, some of which don't make sense. I've heard people talk on podcasts about it. And really what they're saying doesn't make any sense at all to me in a lot of cases. They get a lot of information wrong. So I would like to go into this. Some of you have emailed it to me. So I want you to know I am looking into it. But I'm not ready to talk about it until the final report comes out. And moving on to our next story, Bruce, a Patreon supporter, recently took a road trip in his Tesla Model 3 across 5 different states and back. For his trip, he used Tesla's trip planning feature, and along the way, he had a few small issues, nothing that was really that big of a deal. But I thought it was very interesting, and he said it was okay if I shared it on the show. So I'll put the link in the show notes. And then once you're done reading the article, I would highly encourage you to click around Bruce's website, because he's up to some pretty fun and geeky projects. And some of the folks that listen to the show, or most of the folks that listen to the show, would find them very interesting. I certainly did. All right, the Model S and Model X base price has gone up by $5,000. It makes sense considering everything else that's going on in the world in terms of chip prices and getting a hold of things. Prices are just going to continue going up slowly over time. If you live in Europe, there's a really good chance that your Model Y, at least initially, will come from China. The long-range Model Y will begin delivery this September in Europe, and the performance version will begin in 2022. When Giga Berlin opens up, I feel pretty confident in saying that the majority of the Model Ys will be built there at Giga Berlin, although some might actually still be coming from China depending on demand. Speaking of Model Y and China, the Model Y standard range will be sold in China. It was sold here in the United States briefly for about 3 weeks, and then it went away, so hopefully it stays in China a little bit longer than the 3 weeks. The Chinese-made Model Y standard range will have a range of about 525 kilometers or 326-mile range, according to NEDC. This is the Chinese agency that's kind of like the EPA and gives the ranges. The Model Y, the standard range that was available here in the United States, only had a 244-mile range. So 326 seems like it might be a mistake, but who knows? In any case, the price of this bad chicken starts about $42,600 US. Let's move on to some quick Cybertruck news. Elon said that the Cybertruck will have crab mode, which is basically rear wheel steering, and this will improve mobility and agility. This is a very large truck, so improving agility makes a lot of sense, and that's a good thing. And that concludes our Cybertruck news. Moving on, the very first large-scale sustainable neighborhood is coming to Austin, Texas. Tesla Energy is partnering with Brookfield Asset Management, very sexy name, and Dakra on the Sun House at Easton Park development. This name sounds very much like the South Park season when South Park was going through a gentrification phase. And that's all I can think about the whole time I read the article. Anyway, the first phase of this development began last month. Tesla solar roof and power walls will be installed in phases on these new homes. I don't know exactly what that means. It kind of makes sense to me if you were going to put a Tesla roof on a new home, it wouldn't be in phases. It would be as you build the homes. So maybe this just means the homes are going to be built in phases. I don't know. Anyway, this makes sense. The homes will also include EV charging stations, and there will be additional charging stations throughout the community. This should not be a shocker, but the goal of this community is to be energy neutral. So I think this is awesome. We need more communities like this. It's good for the environment, and most importantly, these new homes are not going to be cheap, but they are going to help bring the prices down as this technology matures. So that's a good thing as we move towards more sustainable energy. All right, that leads us to our final story, and it's kind of a bummer, honestly, and I don't like to end the show on a bummer story, but here we go. A 42-year-old man was caught on camera shooting some kind of homemade contraption at a Tesla Model Y, breaking the side passenger window. Now, this occurred in California, up near Sacramento somewhere. Apparently, the guy who was doing the shooting, we'll just call him the suspect from here on out, was unaware of the fact that Teslas have cameras surrounding the vehicle, and they're almost certainly recording what's going on around the car. The owner of the Model Y was able to get some pretty decent video of not only the vehicle the suspect was driving, but they were also able to get pretty good video of this suspect pulling out some sort of homemade contraption, like I said, and shooting an unknown projectile at the Model Y. They got pretty clear video of this guy doing this. And then not only that, they were also able to turn that video over to the police, and the police actually caught him, which is pretty impressive. The suspect was charged with felony vandalism, felony assault with a deadly weapon, and throwing a substance at a vehicle or occupant. And police believe that the suspect is also responsible for similar incidents on local freeways, so additional counts may be recommended. It is beyond me why people feel the need to do this kind of thing. Honestly, it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart because there's something broken inside of them, and it hurts my heart because it could potentially kill somebody, and that sucks. And it's a real bummer. All right, just so we don't end on a sour note here, because this story really does bum me out, go to patreon.com/kilowatt or supportkilowatt.com, and you'll see some cool full self-driving version 9 videos. Version 9 came out today on Saturday, the 11th, or I think it's the 11th. No, the 10th, Saturday the 10th. And it's easier for you guys just to go up there and watch the full self-driving videos than it is for me to explain what changed, but it looks good. It's a pretty decent update. All right, everybody, that is it for the news. Just some housekeeping stuff. I am still learning how Acast works. I'm working through some issues with their technical support people. Looks like pretty much everyone switched over to the new hosting, which you didn't really have to do anything. It's whoever you get your podcast through, they have to do it. So it looks like that switch was pretty successful. So that's a positive. I'm trying to figure out this ads thing. I tried to remove that Acast supporter intro that everybody hears when you first start the podcast, because I don't want that to be the first thing you hear when you listen to the podcast. And for some reason, Acast keeps putting it back. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Obviously, you heard we have some new intro music, and I'm hoping you guys like it. Let me know what your thoughts are. And thank you all for listening. If you want to email me, it's Bodie, BODIE at 918digital.com, or you can follow me on Twitter at 918digital. I hope everybody has a wonderful week, and I will talk to you next Friday.